What is this strange foreign substance falling on my truck right now? Haven't seen this in a while. We just won't make any mention of it. Maybe it'll keep going. Nope, never mind. It's already stopped. That's what I get for saying something. We are terribly busy here. Don't believe me? I have a to-do list. And would someone who doesn't have anything to do have a to-do list? I don't think so. First things first on the agenda, and it involves the new, to us, 8R370 tractor. Although this tractor is beautiful, it does have one major flaw. Being that it is a used tractor that someone else owned and operated before us for 900 hours, it has a scent in the interior of the cab from someone who enjoys a cigarette or two while they farm. Nothing against you. If it's your tractor, by all means, do whatever you want in the cab. But now that it's ours, we are trying to scent it up a little bit because I personally don't enjoy that. One of my friends recommended this to me. Basically, it's just an air freshener product that you open up in the cab, gas it out, turn the AC all the way up and let it run for 15 minutes. And when it's done, it should smell like a brand new car. All the way down, fan all the way up. Oh, there it goes. I don't think I was supposed to be in there. It would also be wise of me to crack the barn door at the bare minimum since I have a tractor running. Oh. I feel like I just took a bite out of a car air freshener. I'm gonna regret that all day. Things change pretty quickly with our crop this time of year. Last time I checked in with you, all those nice tassels hadn't made their way out of the cornfields yet. We're starting to see a lot of them. It's typically about the halfway point for our corn crop. Getting a little steamy in here. Our 15 minutes are up. Let's see how it performs. The smell definitely has improved. I'm not gonna say that it's fixed by any means. We may need to use another one of these cans. It smells like the Sistine Chapel if it were to be located in Detroit, Michigan. That's kind of how I imagine it. I do have one more can, but we're gonna let it sit for a while and maybe decide in another week whether or not we want to do this again. It is going to be a short day at this pace. Looking pretty blue to the west. Maybe we'll finally get that big 4-inch rain we need. It's a 4th of July miracle. Rain. Picking up too. Can't really complain at all. At this point, beggars can't be choosers, and don't know how much we've had, but it's enough to be happy for the day. We ended up with a shade under 6/10 of an inch of rain, which is pretty darn good. We get a couple more of these rains, and I think we'd be in good shape heading into pollination, which is quickly approaching. Very sensitive time for our corn crop. Okay, on to my next project, which I've been dragging my feet on for quite a while now. And by dragging my feet on, I meant went on vacation for a week. We're going to be taking our Midland radio and antenna off the S780 combine because we've got a brand new S780 showing up in a couple days. I do feel like this is a violation of some kind of law, kind of like opening an umbrella inside. I don't know that opening your grain tank inside is very kosher. The new 780, though, we wanted to get that extension put on. We weren't sure exactly how tall that was, so we had to open that up and measure it. This is going to be a very labor-intensive job. That's done. Anything else in here? Toilet paper, do you think we should keep that or leave it for whoever bought the 780? Seems that all of our belongings off of the 780 are congregating on the back of the 670. Most likely because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We're not normally an operation that trades combines year to year. Usually we keep them for a while. We've had the 670 for 5 or 6 years. It was our main combine and now it's our second combine. And the 780, or the larger size combine, is the flagship of our harvesting operation. For those of you who follow along last harvest, we had some major problems with this machine. At one point it was down for almost a week during the heart of soybean cutting season. As opposed to keeping it with our already bad luck that we've had, we took it in over the winter. There was all sorts of things, sensors and stuff that needed to be replaced on it, not even related to the hydraulic issues. We just kind of thought that maybe this flower was not meant to blossom on our farm. The next person who buys it could have a completely reliable combine, no problems at all, because we worked out all the kinks. Us, though, had a sour taste, so we traded off for a brand new one. Everyone has different motives for trading their equipment. A lot of what we're doing this season is upgrading for efficiency and logistical purposes. This, though, was more of a peace of mind trade. We had a lot of bad experiences with the 780, so we wanted a different one. Maybe the new one won't be so problematic. Or it could be even worse, more demonic than what this has been to us. It's actually extremely expensive to trade a combine 1 year. So 1 year old to a new one. It's about 10% of the value of the combine to make that trade, which is pretty interesting. And I don't necessarily know that it pencils the best economically. I've talked numerous times about how some operations like to constantly keep their equipment top of the line, brand new. I'm not saying that our equipment's even close to not top of the line. However, we don't normally trade everything year to year. Usually it's sprinkled in here or there. If we have a good financial year, we might make some upgrades in certain departments. In other years, we may not trade much anything. And the way the grain market's headed and input costs are looking like for next season, this may be one of our last trades. I feel like if you sit here and stare long enough, you can just watch new tassels pop out, especially after a rain. Didn't really think it was gonna look like this given where it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, rolled up and in a lot of misery. Got plenty of subsoil moisture and of course a few timely rains to help limp us along to this point. I think with the addition of a few more nice rains, we could still have a bumper crop. It is literally impossible to get anything done. Just keeps raining. This is terrible. Just kidding. This is awesome. It can keep raining for the next week for all I care because this water will get sucked right up. Just when I think it's about to stop raining, it starts raining again. This is exactly what we've needed. We've got about a 5-inch deficit since the end of May versus our normal rainfall trend. What we've had these last few hours and continue to have may be the best thing that's happened to our farm this year, other than $8 corn. I don't know about all of you. For me personally though, this may be one of the most peaceful things in the world. I could pull up a chair here and just sit in the garage and watch it rain for hours. Nice and peaceful. With all of our corn plants getting very close to pollinating, they've already shot tassels. Within the next week, we'll probably see a lot of pollination. This rainfall is a blessing for them. They need that relief, easy moisture to the roots, and not to mention the cool weather that's coming. When I say cool, I mean relatively cool. Highs are gonna be in the upper 80s, it's about perfect pollination weather. And our beans, which aren't quite as far along in the reproductive process, have such shallow roots that rains like this, especially daily rains, cause tremendous vegetative growth. In August, where they really start to fill those pods out, rains like this can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This may not be $1 million rain for our soybean crop. It could be close to $1 million rain for our corn crop. I recant my statement. I enjoy driving around in the rain more than just sitting and watching it rain. With diesel fuel being about $5, sucks a little bit out of the joy from the driving part. I was mostly kidding when I said that this rain was gonna hamper my ability to do anything today. Turns out that that was the truth. It's literally rained all morning and afternoon. The ponds are starting to fill up, folks. A lot of rain we've had. This is arguably one of the most profitable series of rain events farmers in this area have had in the last 10 plus years. And I'll die on that hill because we're getting pretty dry. This is gonna make a lot of people a lot of money because it's adding yield to our beans at this point and our corn. And we're not even done yet, it just keeps coming down. The ditches are starting to get full. Oh boy. Fire up the tile, blow out those cobwebs. When this water makes it down from the higher areas, if it keeps raining like this, they're both gonna be running full speed in the next hour or two. At least we have dry soil on our side. We will take a couple inches straight into the ground without even blinking an eye, as dry as it was. And any ground that was cracked, those cracks are almost like expedited routes to the soil profile for water to permeate. They literally just put us in a flash flood warning. Look at that zone. A lot of our farm ground's on the north half of that. That is both good and bad. We'll see how it develops because the rain is still pouring down. And we're back to clear skies. Mother Nature needs to make up her mind because she's being a little bit temperamental right now. We've given gravity about an hour to work. I'm gonna come check and see how much water's down here. Looks like the red man's already here. The new 24 is in there. You can see no water is actually moving that way. That means that all this flow you see coming down the ditch, that's quite a bit of water moving, is actually all exiting in the tile. That's impressive. The original 24-inch tile is also moving quite a bit of water as we speak. If this is all the rain we end up with, it's actually going to be a pretty good deal. Right in there, both of those drainage systems should be outletting You can't really see it because this buttermilk drainage ditch is so high right now. I'm confident though that a lot of water is exiting. And there it all goes, way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. The only problem I have with this new tile is that because there's nothing other than the grate itself to stop residue from coming in, we have to sit here and babysit it every couple hours and rake away any kind of grass or corn stalks or bean stubble that piles up, because it really hinders the amount of water that can flow out. I just spent 20 minutes or so raking away all this grass because I made the mistake of mowing 2 weeks ago. Should have known better. I didn't predict 3 to 4 inches of rain because it wasn't exactly in the cards if you looked at the forecast. Not too shabby. It becomes more inefficient by the second because more residue makes its way in. So I have to kind of sit here and rake it all away. The grass is wrapping around it because the water's forming a vortex on the way down, getting spiraled around and creating a little bit of a dam. Very glad that my dad added these old cattle fences, because this would not have been running at all if we hadn't had some kind of a barricade keeping the majority of the junk from getting on top of it. The new tile's older counterpart, the other 24 inches, also moving quite a bit of water out of this farm. We have a little bit of a better defense system against corn stalks and grass. Even with this wall built up here of residue, we still have a dam-like flow over the top. As long as the tiles are completely submerged, they're running at 100% efficiency, or 99 or 95, whatever the maximum actual efficiency of the tile is, they're reaching it. The other one, because it is getting some blockage, hasn't really been able to stretch its legs out. All things considered, we are going to have some benefits from this new tile here this year, which I was afraid was not going to be the case. This rain is challenging my theory. However, we probably would have seen some yield damage out here in the lowest areas of this big 125 acre field if this water would have sat here for 2 or 3 days in the summer heat. And that just shows you the humor of Mother Nature. We go from needing a rain to maybe we could miss a rain or two. Now that right there is a thing of beauty. Both the twins in action. 5 short hours after I last checked in. Still a little bit of a stream running out, but not very much at this point. And that's all that's left. The rest of it should be gone by the morning, if not in another couple hours. Would you look at that? Our field cultivator that we're supposed to have for this planting season finally showed up. 2nd week of July. Now that's impeccable timing. Pretty much worthless to us now. Planting equipment is old news. Harvest season's next in line. Header equipment to set up, combines coming in. Alliance tractor's busy. Speaking of major upgrades, this one right here may be the nicest thing we've done all year. Restringing my boots that were probably 6 months overdue. I've retied one of the strings maybe 6 or 7 times and doesn't have much life left in it. It's the small things in life that make the biggest difference. It's almost like having a new pair of boots, except for the fact that I got the wrong length of string. That's a mistake that I'm just gonna have to live with. It's finally that time. Combine time. We were told that our new S780 is on the truck and headed down here. Should be here in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Point of clarification, we did wash this combine. When we washed it though, we had the tracks on it. Over the winter, we put the tires back on, or our local dealership put the tires on. So it does appear that we did not wash those. If you look at the rear tire, that's a better indication of the quality of work we do. If you discount all of the problems we had with this combine, it was actually a pretty good machine. This latest generation of S-Series combine, specifically the 780, has a pretty impressive throughput, especially for corn. And we're pushing this thing over 4,000 bushels an hour in high-yielding crops, even with an 8-row corn head. Baffling, I know. It really just comes down to voodoo energy. Some people have a lucky pair of underwear that they wear pretty regularly. Other people might have an unlucky pair of underwear that they throw away. And this combine is our unlucky pair of underwear. Of course, whoever buys it, I mean, it should be in 110% working capacity or order. Everything's been fixed. It's been ran through the shop. Every hydraulic line that's blown multiple times for us has been repaired. All the cameras that were supposed to be installed initially, I believe, are now installed on it. Everything should be in tip-top shape. We somehow managed to put almost 300 engine hours on this machine last fall, 180 on the separator. For those of you who are unaware, really these two numbers are how they value a combine. 180 separator hours basically means that the threshing system was on for 180 hours of operation, and the combine engine itself was on for 290. So it spent about 110 plus hours not running the machine, which probably could be transport, header attaching, unattaching, maintenance, things like that. Those add up, and a combination of those two is really how an equipment dealer would value a combine. Trading equipment's kind of like leaving a hotel room. Before you let it go, you want to make sure that you got all your junk out of here. Barely fits under that line. This reminds me of last time this combine was loaded on a trailer like this. It wasn't able to do so on its own will, and it was also headed for $30,000 worth of warranty work. That's a big load. Looking at the interior of this S780, I really don't see anything that much different other than the radio versus our previous model that just left the farm. We do need to add our extended display up here. That way the operator can have all sorts of extremely useful information when they're running through the field. This is my favorite part right here. The 75-year anniversary of John Deere making self-propelled combines. I wonder what the original self-propelled engineers would think about these modern day machines. One of these can probably do the work of 10 of those. The nicest part about getting something brand new is that you get to see the exterior of the machine in its purest state. Once this thing hits a field, it'll never look like this again. The only major difference from model to model that I'm noticing is they've equipped this with the newer style of LEDs all around the machine. I assume those perform better. They look a little bit more high-tech than what's on our predecessor. I guess we'll see out in the field if it's much of an upgrade or not. Really a good looking machine. This machine was ordered pretty much to our standard spec. 4-wheel drive, PowerCast tailboard, folding grain tank. We put a 15 or 20 inch, I don't remember, grain extension on there to hold another 50 or 75 bushels. Don't quote me on that. I'm excited to get this machine out in the field. Now all we need is a 12-rail corn head. And to answer your question, no, we don't have a 12-rail folding corn head on the way. I guess if we had one of those, I probably wouldn't get to enjoy the fun of running the grain cart, because Katie would probably move to the grain cart and corn, and I would be stuck in a semi-truck. Not that that's not an important job, it's just not as fun as running a nice fancy John Deere tractor and cool new grain cart. It's pretty easy to tell how dry we were, because even after receiving 4 inches of rain here at our main farm, The ground is actually already very, very firm. Obviously, we've got some sunlight here because this is a sprayer track. You can see, though, we're getting some graying off down at the bottom. We are kind of higher up. I'm sure in some of the lower areas it may be a little heavier. All things considered, though, that rain went straight into the soil and is doing some magic for our soybeans. This big 220-acre field of Asgrow 35 XF1 soybeans were the first bean we planted this year on the 23rd of April. Talking about the moisture, I would estimate that after the rainfall we got at the tail end of last week, which was only 3 or 4 days ago, these beans have shot up another 12 inches or so, which is very impressive, and it shows how much they needed to drink to really expedite their vegetative growth. Now, I'm not saying by any means am I the tallest tool in the shed. These beans, though, are actually starting to get a pretty good amount of height to them, about halfway up my thigh. That's a good amount of vegetative growth, and we're actually reaching some pretty important stages for our farming operation and making some management decisions. Because as they reach a very specific stage in their development, we want to consider applying some crop protectants, mainly a fungicide to work against some fungal pathogens, and on top of that, we also want to apply insecticide to kill off some hard-shelled insects that not only cause vegetative growth, but also are the main vector of some of those pathogens we're trying to hit with the first thing I mentioned. Personally, I think maximizing soybean yields is a numbers game. Obviously, your population at the beginning of the year matters from a solar optimization standpoint. However, really the end goal is to have the most amount of flowers, blooms, and ultimately pods in the field. Obviously, we want to start the beginning of every growing season with an optimized fertility program and a very balanced soil profile full of all the nutrients we need to produce a bountiful crop. Once we've laid that foundation down and we reach this very pivotal point in the growing season, we want to protect the investments that the plant has made in itself, all of these flowers, blooms, and ultimately pods, from any kind of predator, whether that be an insect or a pathogen. Really, the list is pretty much endless for things trying to take our yield. Our methodology of overcoming this opposition are the fungicides and insecticides that I mentioned just a second ago. For nearly the last decade or so, give or take, we've seen a very healthy return on investment on these crop protectants. The issue is not, does it work? It's what time does it work the best? And there's actually data that shows that the R3 growth stage on soybeans is the optimal time to see the biggest bang for your buck with these products. The R3, or third reproductive stage, is when the fourth fully formed node from the top has a 5/16 of an inch soybean pod formed on it. We want to go to the top of the plant and make sure we find the highest up trifoliate that is completely unfolded. This one right here is still tucked together, so it doesn't really count. This one is node 1 because it's fully unfolded there. This is node 2, node 3, and node 4. Then we look at the cluster of flowers here on this one, and we can see right here we have a pod starting to develop. Although it is kind of tough to see, this pod is getting fairly close to 5/16 of an inch, which means that this 35 XF1 Asgrow soybean is getting relatively close to that optimum period to apply fungicide. To be completely honest, one might argue that spraying at R3 versus R2 or R4 might just be splitting hairs, because the data shows anywhere from a half a bushel to a bushel and a half difference by hitting it on the wrong side of that window. You hit the R3 bullseye, you're going to see the most bang for your buck. And as farmers, we like to have high yielding beans. And anything we can do from a management perspective that's just as easy as scouting and timing things correctly, we're going to do. I know that almost every region that grows corn and soybeans is about as comparable as an apple and an orange. So I'm not necessarily going to put my stamp of approval on a fungicide insecticide combination for your soybeans. Here in central Illinois, I think it's a no-brainer. Now, if you're farming up maybe in Minnesota, southern Canada, out in the western plains, you may not see the benefit, but we have seen a minimum of 8 bushel to an acre. In years where there's high disease pressure and insect feeding, you could see way more than that. And you take $15 beans, $16 beans, that's going to pay for itself pretty quickly. It's a $30 to $35 an acre pass. Takes 2 to 3 bushels to pay for it. It is always pretty exciting to add a new piece of equipment or infrastructure to your farm, although the combine isn't quite as much of an upgrade as the 8R we have sitting in the barn, although that's brand new and that's used. Regardless, I am looking forward to this harvest season, which is rapidly approaching. Before I let you go and forget to tell you, I do want to let you all know that Farm Focused is donating $5 for every single item purchased from any of their awesome content creators. You may have heard of a few of them. If anything, I'm kind of at the bottom of their list in terms of notoriety. You've got Millennial Farmer, Larson's Farms, Welker Farms, just to mention a few. If you go on there, the donation comes from both sides of the equation. Both Farm Focus is chipping in and the content creator themselves. It's going to support the Corporal Dagan Page Foundation. I'm not going to go into lengthy detail other than the fact that it is a great cause and something we're always wanting to support, which is our veterans and fallen troops. That being said, it's a great time if you're on the fence about buying some merchandise from my channel or any of the other channels or content creators on that website. Head over, grab yourself something, and know that part of that is going to a great cause. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!